Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the attendees of the Malaysia Tech Month Digital Investment Week. We will now go on to our next presentation. Let us welcome our next presenter, Dzuleira Bakar, Group Chief Executive Officer of Technology Park Malaysia, on the latest transformations underway in TPM. Over to you, Dzuleira.
Thank you, Hasrul. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to everyone who's watching. I have to quickly sort of interject because I can't seem to see the slide on my computer. So maybe can I log in and log out back, please? I can't see the deck on my screen.
Okay, currently we can see on the main screen you as speaker, and also we can see your slides there with the photo of the technology park.
Correct, because I can't see it.
Only you can't see it.
Yeah, I can't see it, so I can't control the deck because I'm supposed to log on my other computer. So I think there's a bit of a technical error going on.
Okay.
How do I do this? Sorry about that.
I will wait for you.
Yeah, trying to figure this out. Yeah. Okay, 1 second, yeah? 1 second. Let me just spin this up. How do I do this? One second. I can't pin it. Okay, I think I've got that figured out. Right. 1 second. Okay, back in. Thank you very much. I'm sorry about the interruption. So I'll start now.
Okay, over to you whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning again, and apologies for the slight interruption. So I am here today to speak about the new age of innovation centers. I represent Technology Park Malaysia. I am the Group CEO of Technology Park Malaysia. I've recently come on board. This is my 3rd month on the job, and I'm happy to be here with all of you today. So now let me just get straight into my presentation deck. We've prepared a short deck for this session, which would allow me to take you through about the theme of today's discussion. Now, if you can see on the deck, we talk about Back to the Future. Now, I'm sure many of you have actually watched the movie Back to the Future. It's a cult show, right? Many of us have seen it. And I was a big fan of Michael J. Fox growing up. I'm sure many of you are. And if you could recall that show, there was a very famous quote that he kept saying in that show, and I live by that quote really, where the doctor or the mad inventor, right? He goes, "Your future is what you make of it, so make it a good one," right? And I cannot impress on this line enough because it is what we make of it, our future. And I mean, going back to the show, if he actually had the chance to go back and fix a few things in the past that he would want to change in the present. Now, we as a country, as a community, as a society, I don't think we are anywhere close to building a time machine. I'm sure it's something that every one of us will want, a time machine. But we are certainly positioned to shape. We are in a position right now to shape a better future just from where we are, right? But how do we do that, you may ask, right? In the past year, right? The past year, in the last 24 months, let's just not take 1 year, like in the last 24 months, it's been a whirlwind of a journey for most of us. There's been ups and downs. Last year, we were looking into the future, which is this year. But in that time, many things have changed drastically. We've changed in huge leaps. And in terms of the journey, there's a lot of ups and a lot of downs. Now, if you look at the slide that we have on screen, that we've prepared on screen, it talks about the current trends, or what has happened currently, what's happening currently, and what's the future looking like, right? If you look at the first component, which is e-commerce, more than 1 in every 3 digital service consumers started using digital services or internet commerce, e-commerce, due to COVID, right? And that has spurred a massive surge in new digital e-commerce users in 2020. In 2020 alone, there's been more than 40 million new internet users compared to a cumulative amount over 4 years, right? So over 4 years, we saw 100 million users cumulative over 4 years, but in just 1 year alone, the amount doubled to 40 million a year. And more importantly, 9 in 10 intend to continue using digital services even after COVID. Now, in terms of content consumption, now you look at content as a big component here. There's a Google and Bain's report that also noted that subscription music and video, as well as online gaming, surged in new user acquisition up to 2 times in some markets at the height of city lockdown. We're stuck, we're at home, we only have our computers and our mobiles at disposal, right? And that sort of charted a whopping $17 billion in GMV in 2019. And obviously this trend continues to increase, which brings to the next point, which is collaboration. And collaboration here now, in this new age rather, is really about online collaboration. And that has spiked. In March alone, video conferencing apps saw a record of 62 million downloads as businesses switched from remote working to limit the spread of virus. Now, if you look at the downside, right? Of course, with every pros, there's a cons to it. And the downside, we saw a decline in what I call the people matters, right? Mental health and well-being. Us, we talk about us, right? There was a review over 30 studies, and they had a sample of about 30,000 Asians, which found the prevalence of anxiety, which was prevalent, where 41% was experiencing anxiety, and 37% of the population was experiencing depression. So the last year and a half has been hard on the people, has been hard on our mental health. And as a result, there has been a dip of productivity and slowing of performance. The COVID-19 pandemic has led to the deepest global recession since World War II, right? The 2020 global recession coincides with a decline in per capita income in about 90% of countries, right? Huge decline. And the highest fraction that's recorded in economic history. Now, this will likely, obviously, have a negative impact on productivity through multiple channels, including weaker trade and investment, erosion of human capital, as well as persistent unemployment. People are losing jobs. And that creates a vicious circle. Now, just trying to move my clicker. Now, so what does that all mean? Do we say that with the pandemic and what would the future hold, would that mean that we don't need space, right? Now, among others, what the COVID-19 pandemic took away from us was place and space. As social beings, we would find most pleasure and be most creative and productive in a space that we're comfortable in a space that is conducive, in a space that works for us, for whatever the task holds. But unfortunately, with the whole pandemic situation, that's not a luxury that we have. We are confined to our space, our home space, in isolation from physical as well as social interaction. So the need for space and place, whilst is important, is not a luxury right now. It's not an option that we have right now. And to put it into perspective, that has also impacted our productivity as well as our fitness level. I think, simply put, a lot of people are now confined to fitness activities in their own space. Gyms are closed, physical spaces to actually exercise are closed. Sports activities is not something that you can do openly, except for jogging and running, which does not include it does not include crowd or people in that sense. But time and space, time and place, for example, is still a very much a key component of a human psyche. We cannot separate ourselves from the need to want to congregate, from the need to want to be in a physical space, to want to be in that environment that would allow us to do things that we do at best. That depends on all the activities. That covers all the activities that I just spoke about, right? There was also a KPMG study that was recently released to confirm this. So it's a bit of a paradox here, where you would think that hubs are no longer necessary, but the report actually confirms that technology hubs reports involving more than 800 industry leaders that show, despite the new global workforce trends, physical innovation hubs are here to stay. It remains a key component of a technology company's strategy. You have to have a hub space, right? You have to have a hub. Almost twice as many global tech companies, leaders believe that hubs are still important in driving technology innovations, as opposed to those who believe they're not important. 78% say that they will not be downsizing their physical footprint. Like I said, it's a bit of a paradox because we no longer operate in a physical space. We operate in isolation. But ironically, the report actually shows that there is a need, and it actually emphasized the need for physical space. Only 26% expect to hire predominantly remote talent. So there's 78% that says that they will maintain physical footprint, and there's only 26% who expect to hire talent remotely. And these trends will shape consumer demands, will shape consumer trends, will shape industries moving forward. And this also would tell us that when we are able to control the state of the pandemic at this state, and we are moving in that direction, there is a huge possibility, based on this data, based on this study, that we will potentially go back to where we were pre-pandemic. Yeah. Now, across the globe, we're seeing tech parks in London, China, Europe, all flourishing and investment growing despite the COVID-19 pandemic, due to the fact that technology is really the key driver to recovery from these tough times. This is no denying, yeah, and we've all seen that. And these examples include the Cambridge International Park in the UK, the Science Quadrant in Netherlands, as well as the Zhongzhuan Science Park in Beijing in China. Now, moving on, we speak about innovation. Yeah, 61% from the same survey say that pandemic has changed their opinion of which cities will become leading technology hubs. Only 1/3 feel that Silicon Valley will maintain its innovation leadership position, while an equal number feel that it would not. The report also shows that Asia takes a leading position in innovation across the world, with more than 50% of top innovations hub based in this region. I just mentioned earlier, we've got China that takes a big chunk of innovation hubs. And we've also got innovation hubs in Korea, as well as in Thailand, for that matter, and Singapore. And, we have one in Malaysia, which is up and coming. And no surprise for that, because Asia actually represents 60% of human population. And the world's population, 60% is based out of Southeast Asia, and is set to increase to a whopping 5.2 billion in 2050. This is Asia alone. We're looking at 5.2 billion population by 2050. And APAC, Asia Pacific, will also be responsible for the overwhelming majority, which is 90%, of the 2.4 billion new members of middle class entering the global economy. right? And this is expected to set out and pan out in the next 10 years. And the middle class is actually what holds the economy together, a backbone of the economy. And we will have 90% of it in Asia Pacific, right? Asian cities will continue to be a hotbed of creativity, even more activity as organizations start to invest in Asia, right? Looking to disrupt business models and so forth. Again, we're looking at roughly 60% of global population by 2030. And good news is that Kuala Lumpur, there's a recent study that was done by KPMG again. Kuala Lumpur is ranked 9th amongst the cities as leading innovation hubs, technology and innovation hubs in Asia Pacific. Sorry about that. Now, what makes one location have an edge over the other? We had a survey done, and this was done by, the survey was done by KPMG, and the respondents to this survey prioritized 12 standout factors. Skilled talents and modern infrastructure came out as top factors in determining what makes it a choice city. Local factors also influence a city's status as a tech hub, including, but not limited to, infrastructure, the university community, demographics, and of course, tax incentives, right? These are facilitations that are given to a tech hub. But there are also certain macro factors too, such as regulatory environments, available investment funding, and again, potential national tax incentives that can help position a country as an incubator of technology innovation. We will discuss some of these key ROI factors here in this session. Now, if you look at what it takes to being future ready, right? Building from the key takeaways from the report that I just shared earlier on folding in additional observation, there are a number of imperatives in these areas that we need to look at. First, of course, you need to have a clear vision of what the trends and opportunities are, the intersections between technology, sectors, and the parks, right? And of course, having the right government policies, program, and support is definitely key. Location is everything, right? Location is key. That the place needs to tick the right box. And it's not just about physical locality, right? It's just about what the location brings with it. And of course, the most critical factor to make a location work, talent. You need to have the right quality and the right quantity of talent. The ability of taking a hub, a space to the next level it really lies in the quality of its talent, and which is what we have to continue to build upon, look at our gaps and continue to build upon. Next is really the ability of a science park to manage the process of innovation, right? And its experience in handling a wide variety and volume of clients, which is also very important. And the other important thing is also to be able to bring together partners that would actually be able to push together this collective agenda. Again, a hub is really where everyone congregates. You have various stakeholders, you have talent, you have investors, you have the corporate sector, you have various stakeholders, and the hub should provide that ability for everyone to congregate. One of the key characteristics of an innovation hub, as I've mentioned earlier as well, is really in its ability to attract talent. People factor, right? A place is nothing without its people. More specifically, how the Innovation Center draws young professional and has a pipeline of skilled talent, right? Well, as part of the SDG goals, countries, including Malaysia, were pledged to sustainably increase public and private spend, R&D, right? Spending, as well as the number of researchers by 2030. The UNESCO Institute for Statistics monitors progress globally towards this key SDG target. Now, to evaluate a country's commitment to R&D, look at the spending as a percentage of GDP. You can see that the actual amount being spent in purchasing power parity dollars. That's how you measure spend into R&D as a percentage of GDP. The size of the circles that you see in the slide really shows the amount of countries that are spending on R&D in terms of purchasing power parity, right? It's the PPP versus the dollar in that sense. So countries farther to the right, as you can see, are spending relatively more in terms of their GDP, right? Now, those closer to the top has higher number of researchers per 1 million inhabitants. So if you take the time to sort of examine this chart a little closer, you will see that Malaysia and Italy sit roughly in the same spot, about 1,800 researchers per 1 million inhabitants. And today, our R&D expenditure as a percentage of GDP is just above 1%. It's just above 1%, sorry. While the ministry is targeting to increase its GERD, which is the spend in the coming years, we are also active in ensuring there is a steady stream of R&D talent who are key feeders to the innovation process. In this regard, I should note that Malaysia actually scores quite high on several fronts, right? We have 11 to 12 research institutes in Malaysia consisting of public as well as private sector research institute. And on top of this, we have close to 20 public universities and private universities who are active in R&D. Now, the government spends about close to 5% of its GDP on education, which is above the world and regional average. This is a way for us to demonstrate the country's highest regard for it. Right. So now the next quest is to increase spend into R&D because we are already spending a lot on education. We have a good base to start. We have young and educated workforce, strong growing talent pool, and which is where we look to actually harness all that we're doing within the tech and innovation space for the country right now. Moving on. Now, Malaysia has also scored perfect 10 in terms of performance and market reach of the Global Startup Ecosystem Report in 2020. Kuala Lumpur was ranked 11th in the top 100 emerging ecosystem category and scored 9 for talent as well as 8th place for funding. Additionally, the Global Innovation Index 2020, where Malaysia ranked 2nd after China for the most innovative country in the middle upper income group category. Now, the government also, building on all of this, the government has also just recently launched the National Policy on Science, Technology and Innovation, which is DISTIN 2021, which actually charts the path for the next 10 years, aiming to address issues on innovation inefficiencies. And this is also in line with efforts to make Malaysia a high-tech nation with a GDP or gross domestic expenditure on research and development GERD to GDP by 3.5%. So if you recall earlier, right now we're just hovering at about 1%. Now the target is to increase it to 3.5% by 2030. And in line with that objective, MOSTI has identified 10 socio-economic drivers with 10 global leading science and technology sectors to lead economic growth for Malaysia, as you can see in the chart that's being projected right now, right? Now, in terms of, so if you look at the intersection between science, technology, innovation, as well as physical space, right? The parks. For decades now, the GDP of a nation has been the measure of success. In simple terms, the GDP is simply the monetary value of all the value that's created in the economy, and it's benchmarked against how much wealth is actually created. So whilst GDP is a useful macro measure of growth, it does not encapsulate the changing time that we live in, right? We need to measure the nation's innovation spirit, and overall really is the thirst for innovation. But more importantly, how does that translate to tangible and intangible wealth? So it's actually looking at the intersection between science, technology, as well as economic growth. So which is why it's very important for a nation to consider other measures such as the GERT or its ranking in the Global Innovation Index. The other key component that we should be looking at really is intellectual property as an outcome of innovation, which becomes a new currency really. And we need to re-examine how we've always viewed the value that IP plays in our economy. And in tandem, we need to push for innovation beyond confines of labs and as well as the academia into the market where innovative technology matches its specific needs, right? So this is what we call a product market fit. It's important for the product to actually meet its market needs. And that process is what we call commercialization. In short, the commercialization is a process where money is made, scaling up solutions at speed. But what does commercialization actually means, right? So I, briefly touched upon that. But if you were to break it down, commercialization is the process where you are actually converting a product or a solution from the lab, right, from the research and development stage into a viable, a valuable product, which may be procured by the market. And the market could mean it's government, corporate, and the public sector, right? And this is where some shifts need to happen. In realizing the vision for an innovation-driven economy, the government looks deeper at the gaps that we currently have. So the research, development, and the commercialization pathway, right? And we need to put together a huge transformation plan to ensure speed, to ensure efficiency, to ensure that these products meet the market and vice versa. So just building on what I've just talked about is the concept of technology commercialization accelerator. Now, just allow me to speak a bit about what we're currently working on, just to give you a little bit of a teaser in terms of, we've sort of set the scene in terms of the need for space, the need for innovation hubs, and the need for all of this to come together in order to accelerate technology adoption, accelerate technology to the market, and as well as to bring the entire commercialization journey into technology, right? So which is where the whole concept of a technology commercialization accelerator comes to fruition, right? So in April this year, the ministry announced the formation of an agency, right? It's called the Technology Commercialization Accelerator. It's just a working name at this point. We are building on a new agency name, which, as many of you may know, this whole Technology Commercialization Accelerator will be formed through the consolidation of two key agencies, which is an agency under the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, which is MAGIC, as well as TPM. And we are looking at harnessing synergies between the two agencies to bring together and create a strong, formidable, and cohesive ecosystem to commercialize technology, right? So I think the whole intent is really, as a country, right, as a country, to move from being technology users to being technology producers, right? Malaysia, we are sitting on technology companies that are fantastic, but they need the right platform to grow. We've got multiple agencies which are supporting, including MDEC for that matter right now, which are supporting the growth of technology companies and digital in that sense. So the role of the Technology Commercialization Accelerator is to focus on bringing out products from the lab into the market. How can we then grow these entities into big, scalable entities, which would then populate our startup and our technology entities, the community of our technology entities? We want more Aerodynes, we want more Customs, we want more technology-based companies to be in the population of technology entities for Malaysia. We want to be proud of our Malaysian companies, right? And I think Malaysia, as we look at it, the commercialization process is not something that is actively managed as it is managed in other countries in the world, right? We do have push, but we have got rooms to improve in that sense. And our commercialization rate is actually quite low, right? At this point, we are looking at an average of about 15 to 20% within the last couple of years. So the role, the aim of this new initiative or this new accelerator is really to accelerate that rate, to really increase that rate over the years, right? And oftentimes R&D remains with the research institutes and the universities, because from the perspective of the researchers and the innovators, there's no clear method in bringing it out to the market. So this is where an entity like TTA will help them through that process. And although there are commercialization activities by corporates and various institutions, it needs to be centralized and even aggregated for that multiplier effect, right? So MOSTI, the ministry rather, feels that this is the right time for us to look at all functions that are involved in commercialization activities, to bring it together, to bring a bit of focus so we can amplify the impact, amplify the outcome. So this is where everything culminates. You know, we're looking at a culmination of all of these initiatives into Technology Commercialization Accelerator, and we hope that this new entity will be up and running. This is the plan right now. We are looking for it to be up and running by 2022. Work is on the way right now. We are looking at an entire landscape of commercialization for the country. We are putting together the strategy together to ensure that we are able to provide a cohesive approach towards commercialization of technology and innovation for the country. Now, I would also like to touch upon, I'd also like to touch upon how the Technology Commercialization Accelerator came about. One of the key initiatives for driving up our commercialization rate is through the National Technology and Innovation Sandbox. So at TPM, we play a prominent role in supporting the Malaysian government's plan to grow innovation pool, as well as to accelerate commercialization rate across key technologies through the NTIS, which is tied very closely to the MySTIE, which is the science, technology, and innovation, as well as the economic drivers. Now, the NTIS is part of the government's short-term economic recovery with a 100 million actually budgeted for this particular platform. And target sectors, as I mentioned earlier, is pegged again the MySTIE. So we're looking at healthcare, manufacturing, agri, education, travel, and tourism. Now, of course, priority is given to technologies involving blockchain, robotics, and sensor tech, advanced tech, as well as drone. It is where participating startups and technology companies would be given the opportunity to be given the right facilitation, right support, right funding to grow from the stage where they are into the market that they actually require. But in order to qualify for this platform, companies would have to have a ready prototype, because you need to. The whole idea of the sandbox is to provide a playground in order to test and validate the technology. So therefore, you would need to have a ready prototype to be demonstrated in an operational environment. So you see, in the past, local startups and technology innovators would often have to engage industry players or government individually to secure any buy-in or to even secure any sort of facilitation. So what we have done is to be able to create this platform that would bring all of these stakeholders together. So you go to one platform to ensure that you get the necessary facilitation and support, right? So essentially, the sandbox brings together the right players in creating a clearer way for high potential advanced technologies to fast track commercialization and to give it the boost that they require. It allows startups and tech companies to test their solutions with government agencies, as well as private companies that it partners with in a live environment, and qualify for grants to bring those products and markets to market. NTIS also provides market access to support market access support, which connects technology companies as well as regulatory supports regulatory support wherever is necessary. Now, for example, just to illustrate the point of the sandbox, Malaysia is looking to position itself as a drone and robotics hub for Southeast Asia. We facilitate close discussions with the Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia in order to achieving this big goal, and to provide technical as well as regulatory framework and as well as parameters for drones to operate efficiently in safe to operate safely, to fast track the testing of the locally developed drones, right? So we've got a number of companies that have actually participated in this journey. We've got sorry. Okay, just looking at yeah, so we've got a number of companies that are participating in this journey right now. We have companies from the drone industry, and we have companies from biotech as well as healthcare, and primarily as well as in agriculture, right? So these are companies that are already benefiting from the support that we're giving through the Sandbox, and we've got close to over 2,500 applications, 265 currently approved for funding, technical and commercialization support, and the rest are still being evaluated, right? So this slide that you would see is just to give you an idea of the kind of support that we give across the value chain. So you're looking at technology readiness level. So we actually provide support right from TRL 0 right up to 9, where the company looks at the discovery stage, validation, product development, efficiency, growth, as well as to maturity, right? So I guess to sort of summarize this bit, what we're intending to do under the new entity is to bring together all of this support, which includes the Sandbox, the capacity building support, funding support, and everything that is necessary for a company to grow within one roof, right? Essentially, that is really the objective that we intend to carry forward. And that would tie into becoming an international innovation hub. You have all these 5 key elements where you have living labs, you have commercialization centers, you have utilities infrastructures, you have experimental labs, as well as test bedding facilities, as well as capabilities and capacity building tools. Now, again, future ready is really about having all the right ingredients to support Malaysia's science, technology, and innovation, as well as the economic framework that we have. And that's encapsulated through our policies. We are looking to transform TPM into creating the first AI park for Malaysia, and we have about 300 acres in we are looking to invest or close to 1 billion into 300 acres of land space over the next 4 years. This, we are expecting for it to bring over 1 billion in terms of investments over the next 5 years. So you're looking at a whole integrated AI sort of infrastructure that will be centered in TPM, right? Then this will drive technology, talent, data management, R&D, as well as a commercial ecosystem. Now, AI, why is important? Why is it so important? Because AI is expected to contribute close to 115 billion to Malaysia's GDP by year 2030. And it's also reported that mass adoption of AI could double the rate of innovation in Malaysia. And realizing all of that, in order to realize all of that, it is very important to have all the key components centered in one location. With AI as well, employee productivity in the country could increase by 60%, right? And companies have already embarked in that journey, have seen a tangible improvement by about 17 to 34%. These include improvements in customer engagement, higher competitiveness, accelerated innovation, and many more. In Malaysia alone, there are close to 80 AI companies in Malaysia. What we are looking to increase that with the development of the AI park. And some notable AI companies include FusionX, Food Market Hub, Naluri, right? And that said, we actually have a lot of work to achieve this mass adoption of AI. This report that I'm quoting also found that over a quarter of Malaysian businesses have just joined the exclusive AI circle. Organizations in Malaysia are still behind as far as AI technology application, and more than 50% lack talent and experience as well as funding to adopt AI. Now, so we hope that with the development of an AI park, again, as I've mentioned, 300 acres of land that we're looking to develop, we hope that this would be a platform for the development of every component of building a cohesive and a strong AI ecosystem. I would also like to make a note that in addition to the AI park, there is also another initiative that we're building, which is the drone development zone. Again, a 5-acre land bank, which has already been dedicated to develop a center of excellence or a drone development area for flying activities, testing, as well as R&D, which supports the aspirations of the National Technology and Innovation Sandbox. So as I've mentioned earlier, drones are also another key area that we're currently looking at, and we have a designated area to actually embark on testing and facilitation of these technologies. Now, I think very quickly, just to touch on, trying to navigate the slides. Yeah, so very quickly, just to touch on what we currently focus on, we're looking at access to funding, access to infrastructure, access to technology experts, as well as IP, and as well as access to market. Now, a very important component to commercialization is really looking at IP, right? Is looking at protecting the IP, creation of IP, as well as allowing the IP to be actually commercialized with the support of the necessary venture as well as the necessary founder to bring it to market. And so we look at every support that is necessary to grow technology in that sense. Again, in order to do all of this, a large network is absolutely necessary. We've got an ongoing partnership with 39 international tech parks for a variety of programs on cultivating emerging as well as advanced technology. Now, with these while these areas provide collaboration and learning, we also benchmark ourselves against other regional parks. So we've got the Thai Science Park, the Korean Media Digital Agency, the Singapore Science Park, as well as the Bandung Techno Park, right? Now, in terms of business activities, we're looking at retail space. You're looking at nurturing and facilitating startups, of course, product development, sublease of land. So if you're looking to build a technology company or build technology facilities, then TPM has the necessary infrastructure to support this. This is in addition to engineering, design, and solution, as well as provision of network services and project management, as well as consultancy. You know, this is just a quick overview to tell you what we actually do and what we intend to do moving forward, right? So essentially, we are really an integrated technology developer with all the periphery infrastructure to support. Now, I think I'm coming to the end of my presentation, but this is just to encapsulate some of the key ideas that we've actually put forward. I think it's very important for us to understand where we are as a country as far as technology and innovation trends are concerned. There are many emerging technologies, trends that we can leverage on, and we have been leveraging on. And I spoke quite at length about artificial intelligence and the need for digital platforms to actually carry through, to actually provide that necessary support in terms of business as well as connectivity to the market, and the role of this new entity will be actually to bring together all of this support to provide an integrated support to help you through that commercialization journey. And hopefully with this, we will be able to accelerate innovation, to be able to increase our commercialization rate, to be able to increase the number of entities that are participating in the process of commercialization and bringing innovation to market, and ultimately increase the spend into the space. And with that, I have actually come to the end of my presentation. Maybe just to sort of encapsulate, again, ROI is really about bringing everything together. And it's really about location, it's about the necessary support, it's about necessary facilitation, and it's about bringing together the ecosystem. I'm optimistic that we have the right ingredients to do whatever is necessary to take innovation and technology to the forefront and to put Malaysia on the map, really. And with that, I will end my presentation for today. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you there, Dzuleira, for that great presentation about the technology park and the innovations there. We'll be proceeding to a little bit on the Q&A sessions. Okay, before I give you the questions from the audience, let me just forward one question from myself. Okay, for the Technology Park Malaysia, other than the current site, which is in Bukit Jalil, as you mentioned, location, are there any plans to have any satellite sites within the other states, for example, like within the Penang Science Cluster or the Kulim High Tech Park?
Yeah. So we already have some ongoing partnerships with tech parks and innovation hubs outside the Klang Valley. So we will look to harness this and build via collaboration, because I think there's no point to actually build it ground up, but I think collaboration and partnership is the way to go. So yes, in fact, it's already ongoing at this point.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Now that leads to one of the questions from the audience. What steps are your team taking to make TPM in Bukit Jalil more happening and suitable for technology companies, especially MSC companies, to attract more companies to shift there?
Look, I think the whole journey is really about transforming TPM. TPM, ultimately, we've been around for 26 years right now. So as you can imagine, that also sort of tells you the age of the infrastructure. So there's a lot of refurbishment, there's a lot of work that needs to go into reviving the place, which is exactly what the team and I are currently working on. So our key focus is to revive the physical space where TPM is right now. So we're looking at multiple things, right? There's a lot of things that can happen to actually build the community around it. And we have actually recognized that it is very important to first have a vibrant location before we can actually attract talent or to actually make it into a hub. So that's really a plan that we are currently working on. Unfortunately, I'm not at liberty to share what the plans are at this point, but rest assured that that is a top priority at this point.
Yeah, okay. I was just about to ask, what are your plans since you've just joined 3 months ago? Well, looks like a bit tight-lipped, but what can you share?
So yes, so like I said, I think it would be premature for us to share plans that are not well thought out. So my team and I are currently strategizing the entire delivery, the entire planning of what TCA stands. TCA is really an amalgamation in terms of strategy between the two entities, right? You have Magic and you have TPM. There will be synergies that we will pull together and we will infuse into the physical space that TPM is right now. So that's the content bit of it. Now, as far as the physical space is concerned, obviously, to make any space vibrant, there would be a lot of planning, there would be a lot of strategizing, and there would be a need for a lot of infrastructure spend, right? There would be investment that are required. So plans are definitely ongoing, and we will be unveiling this slowly again. But that is not to say that TPM currently does not have what it takes to attract talent, right? We have close to about 60 incubators or technology companies that are incubated out of TPM right now. We provide internet. We are the fourth generation hub as far as technology and innovation is concerned. We are somewhat already integrated because we provide data, we provide utility support, we provide content to all of our technology incubators. But what we're looking to do is enhance it further. Right? I think the word that was used is now happening. So the plan is underway. It will happen soon.
Yeah, happening. All right. Okay, one final maybe top up. You mentioned that Kuala Lumpur itself is number 9 in the Asia Pacific region.
Yes.
Do you think it is possible for us to break into the top 5, and how quickly would that be?
So if you look at the APAC region, there's about 13 countries in the APAC region that's being measured, and Malaysia is top 9. Of course, we all know who number 1 ranked, who is ranked number 1. We've got a lot to do to catch up for sure. But I truly believe that we actually have the right ingredients. We're at the right starting point. We have the right base of population. We speak the right language. We have very friendly support as far as facilitation is concerned. We have a government that is willing to actually do whatever it takes, administration for that matter, right? We have a government policy that wants to attract talent, that wants to do everything that is necessary for technology and innovation to grow. So given all of that, and I'm very confident that we will be able to actually inch up the rank. However, I think what's very important is for the ecosystem to come together. We need to take a more integrated approach. I think admittedly, there's a bit of disintegration, which means efforts are not really coordinated. So hopefully moving forward, we are able to integrate these efforts and they will be more focused, that we'll be able to track data better, that we'll be able to provide more integrated support to our companies, which would enable us to inch up the rank.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, hopefully for better collaboration between the private sector and also the government sector in the future. All right, looks like we've come to the end, and thank you so much for your insights and presentation. Okay, I believe if there's any further questions from the audience, maybe the administration team will be forwarding them to you. And hope to see you again. Okay? Thank you, Dzuleira.
Thank you very much for having me on the panel. Thank you.
All right, thank you to everybody else, all the attendees for the Digital Investment Week. We'll be taking a break and we'll be resuming later on with our next session at 2 p.m. Okay, thank you, everybody.